So I followed this lady from Snapchat days, probably normally with a glass of wine back in the days. We'd watch her singing and she'd always bring me so much joy. Her personal story, though, of alopecia was what really brought me to her first and foremost. And the changes that she's made in her life over the last few years have been unbelievable. And she's taken what's happened to her and she's educated herself, and now she's making a difference to other people's lives. So without further ado, here's this week's episode with Claire Fullam. This series of BeBelle podcast is brought to you by award-winning skincare brand, Irish-founded, female-founded Ella & Joe by the amazing Charlene Flanagan and Neve Ryan. I will tell you more about Ella & Joe during this episode. Welcome, Claire Fullam, aka Miss Baldwin. I was telling you the story before we started that when the gorgeous Anya that helps with this pod booked you, I said, who the hell is that? I don't know, Claire. Who the hell is that? And we were laughing and I was like, oh my God, because obviously I've been following you since back in the Snapchat days.
Oh my God, you poor thing.
Which seems like an eternity.
Like 8 years ago.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, anyway, such good fun and such good watching and everything else. But love watching you now because obviously, you know, women and women in business is my passion. And so let's just take it right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin? Dublin 3, over the north side of Dublin, in the Rotunda Hospital in August 1987, where little Claire Fullam was born. So I am the eldest, two brothers.
Two brothers.
Yeah, two brothers. So Connor's like 4 years younger than me, and he actually works with me in the business now.
Amazing.
Which I love. I don't know if many people would like to do, but we kill each other. Like we're brother and sister first, and then we're colleagues second. And then Gavin is 7 years younger than me. Yeah, so two younger brothers who I've relentlessly bullied over the years.
I was going to say, did you bully them growing up or did you nurture them? A bit of both.
Bullied Connor, nurtured Gavin. I loved Gavin. Like when Gavin was born, I was like, oh my God, this is... And I used to tell him, it was the time in EastEnders where Kat Slater told Zoe that she was her mum. So
I am your mother.
I'm your mother. So I kept, I'm your mother to Gavin the whole time. I don't know what that's done to him, but or my mum, but I loved Gavin. He was like my little angel. And then my son now is 9 and he's the image of Gavin. So it's
That's
just like,
mental,
it's mad.
And so growing up, like, were your parents, was your mum at home? What did your parents do?
Yeah, both my mum and dad worked. My dad would have been the breadwinner. He worked in Bord Gosh for nearly his whole life. And then he had an opportunity to kind of go out on his own. But like, I kind of slag him because he said, well, I ran my own business, Claire. I'm like, well, did you? Like, you didn't have any staff. You didn't have... So he was like kind of a contractor for Bord Gosh for years. So he did that. And my mum worked in the civil service her whole career. They just retired there a couple of years ago. So, you know, and she was, you work part-time. So she'd be home, you know, when we got home from school. But she worked my whole life, you know. But they always pushed us, you know, and kind of tried to, especially because I was the eldest as well. I think I was supposed to set the tone. I don't think I did, but that was the idea, I think, behind the whole thing. Yeah. But so like really normal childhood, definitely like
fun.
Loads of fun. Like I love my brothers. Like I love them, and they're great gas. Like when we all get together, it's so much fun.
So at that age, you would have been in school around sometimes the same time as your one of the brothers. You wouldn't have hit both?
No.
No.
So Connor was like 4 years behind me in school, in secondary school. So I was in fifth year, I think. So I had 2 years with him. And he was joining. So that was fun, you know, to see him grow up and know some of his friends. Like I wouldn't know Gavin's friends as well. Do you know, that kind of way? Like that 7 years when you're like 20 is a huge gap. Like it's not now, but it was.
Absolutely.
You know?
It would have been.
But so I, you know, didn't hang around with Connor in school, but just keep an eye on him. You know, that kind of way.
Did you like school?
Yeah. Before the messing, like, you know, that kind of way. I loved the social aspect of it. I am the messer of the class. Like, I'll be the one to try and rile people up. I'll be the one that's giggling and you're trying to get you in trouble and involved.
Stand up behind the teacher.
Yeah, you know. But I was always kind of, I wouldn't say in trouble in school, but I'd push boundaries. But I was never... disrespectful. I'd be cheeky, but I knew the line and I obeyed the line, do you know, that kind of way. But I loved our school. Like, our school was a special place. My daughter's in that school now, which is crazy. But I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved this time of the year, going back in and checking on everyone and finding out the gossip. And I was academic. Like, I was academic. I did well naturally. I didn't have to try very hard. But then when 5th and 6th year came along, you kind of have to try if you want a couple of points.
Head down.
Yeah, which I didn't. Like, I was distracted at that age, you know, I was messing. And
what was distracting you? Like, I know you said you're a social person, but were you sporty as well? Or like, where was your time going?
I think I was sporty. Like, I was playing basketball till about 4th or 5th year. And then again, I dropped out. I don't know actually what happened around then. I think I was just like, kind of FOMO. I was kind of like, I want to go to this party, or I want to go out I want to go sit in a green with my friends, or I just wanted to be with them the whole time, you know. Like, I wouldn't even say it was boys, or I don't even think it was just friends. But like, they were my whole world, you know. And we're still friends to this day, which is lovely, you know. But I don't think it was anything in particular. I just wanted, and I just literally said it there this afternoon at work, I just want to be a teenage girl again. I loved it, you know. I just had the best crack. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm jealous of my daughter. I'm like, she's 14 and she's got the best, like, she's like way more accessibility than so many of the stuff we had. But it was a great life, you know. I enjoyed it, and there was nothing awful, traumatic. It was just a normal, giddy, little, spoiled, rotten childhood, you know. It was just great gas.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
And when you were sat in class though, and you're, because I would daydream all the time about what I was going to be and what I was going to do. Did you have any ideas of where you wanted your life to go?
Yeah, like when Jerry left the Spice Girls, I was like, right, they're going to give me a ring. Do you know what I mean? I was like, right, you're going to have to put a little Ginger Washington there and get up on that stage. Like, I always wanted to entertain people. I didn't know what way that was going to go, but I always wanted to entertain people. I was always the clown, that kind of way. I was always the person that was, Claire will do it, get up there, and, you know, that kind of way. Which has harmed me later in life, I think, in some ways. But back then, I just took it in my stride. I was the one that put up my hand. I was the one that got involved. So it was always, I loved singing. I loved drama. I loved entertaining. I got a buzz out of it, you know. But really, when I left school, you know, I didn't know. I didn't do a great leaving cert. You know, I didn't get great points. I was like, right, what am I going to do? So I did a grand leaving cert for not doing a bloody tap, you know, that kind of way. But I didn't probably get what I should have got if I had to put my head down, you know, if my mum had got her way. But literally kind of did a course in event management because I liked organising things. So I was like, that'd be good for me, you know, and floated around there for a year. And then I was like, do you know what? Hotels seem to be a good place to organise events, you know. And I can't remember. I did my work experience in college in a hotel, the Regency Hotel on the Swords Road there. I think it's since changed its name because the shooting and all. So, just a bit of Dublin gangland in the podcast.
As you do.
So I realised that there was so much going on in a hotel, that you could learn a lot there. There was a lot of different departments. It was very transferable skill-wise. You could work your way up. So instead of going back and getting my degree, I started working in a hotel, you know. So I started with the Hilton Group then.
And what were you doing with that? I think hospitality is the perfect place for anybody. I started in hospitality, more or less, and you just can't beat it. It's the fact that you can move, like, you have to learn everything.
100%. Like, I know how to make a bed. Do I do it? No, but I know how, you know, and I know, like, so it teaches you so much. I tell anyone, do a couple of years in hospitality, whatever that is, you will be transferred, you'll grow, you know, that ladder, you can, you know, it's so worthwhile, I feel.
I think, you know, like in some countries you have to go to the army for a couple of years. I think when kids are in senior school, when they're like 16, 17, every Saturday they should be working in hospitality.
Yeah, that's a good
free.
idea.
I think they should be doing it for free. But I honestly think, because by the time they finish their leaving cert, whether or not they get the marks that they should or not, they'll have a different kind of confidence.
Yeah, 100%. And the people who left my school, my secondary school, everyone says it about that cohort of people, that I've never met a student who can't hold a conversation after they leave, and who isn't confident in some aspect of themselves. We're not all going to be, but there was a huge confidence instilled in us and an individuality instilled with us within our school. And I think all of us have, you know, we owe them a lot for that, because I think you can't, you know, always nurture that in a big class size, you know. So we're all well able to do that. So I fit in the hotel industry. Like, I loved it, you know. And I always say, like, Hilton was my university. Like, it was a great company to work for, because they did give you a lot, you know. They didn't pay you very well, but that was okay, because I was 20, you know, 19, 20. And I just remember jumping out of bed every morning. I wanted to work, you know, and I had been during school, like in Super Value and all that kind of stuff. So I loved people. I loved being on the tills. So what you making for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
You know, and chatting, and giving them the wrong change. Like, you know, just having that rapport with people, you know. So, but the Hilton taught me so much. So I started in conference and events. I'd never stayed in a hotel before, so I didn't understand like room occupancy. I didn't understand anything, to be honest. And I just loved everyone I worked with. Steph was her name. She's a Spanish woman. And she taught me so much, you know, and we would organise funerals to weddings to 21st to big conferences for Enterprise Ireland, like everything, you know. It was an airport hotel. So it was really kind of...
buzzing.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? There's always something going on. And right beside a graveyard. So we used to always get funerals. And I'd be like, I was like the nominated funeral director. They'd be like, Claire can do it. And I was like, when I look back, like I was 20, 21.
Yeah.
And I'd be going out and like, you know, like really sympathising with a family. But stuff like that teaches you so much, do you know? Like I'd never even lost someone at that stage of my life. So going out and going, oh my God, and trying to plan something for them and in a quite urgent matter as well sometimes. And so we got all sorts of people in there and I loved it. And from there, I worked there for, God, I think 3 years or something like that, which is a long time when you're like 20 to maybe 2-3 years. Yeah. And then I moved to the Conrad Hotel in Dublin City Centre, and that was 5-star. And that was a different level of expectation. And that wasn't, I moved from conference and events into corporate sales. And at 22, and I remember, I think my target was like €1 million. You know, and I was like, grand. The just, you know, the complete, I'll be fine, this is grand. Sell room nights, grand. You know, just took it in my stride. Hadn't a clue how to work any of the Excel sheets. Hadn't a clue who was who in different companies. Like, I'd be sent into Deloitte or KPMG and all these, and they'd be like, send her in, she'd be grand, you know, and I always was grand, you know, I was always able. But again, I don't know at what expense that was of me. Does that make sense? I think that always I was, you know, oh, I'll be grand, I'll be grand, I'll be grand. And I always throw myself into things and then worry about it later, which gets you so far, I think, but that chips away at you somewhere as well. And then I was in the Conrad for a year and I was worried about it. You know, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, this is different than funerals.
This is very different.
Very hard. I'm good at it now.
Yeah.
But like, that's like 15 years later, you know?
But so herein lies the difference, though. You now sell something that you believe in and love. So when first time I ever went into sales was after my beauticians, and I worked for Groupon. And I said that they asked me would I like to work with them, and I said I could never do sales, and they all started laughing and said, Sian, we've never left your beauticians without spending £100. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, is that sales? Because I just thought I was just telling everybody about shit I loved.
Yeah.
Which is what you do now.
Yeah.
And I still don't think that's just sales. I think you're doing people a service to sell that to them. Whereas selling bedrooms is slightly different.
It's different, you know. But I think as well, you're selling a brand and you're selling like a corporation and you're selling a relationship. And when I look back on it now, like I still don't really know what Deloitte and KPMG do, right? But like definitely didn't 15 years ago. So again, that like ignorance gave me a lot of confidence. I was like, I don't give a shit who she is. I'll go in and have a chat with her. Do you know? And those little, and then looking at me, like again, probably looked 14 at the time. Do you know what I mean?
It was the picture.
But yeah, but I think the Conrad rocked me a bit. It was big boys in there. And I was like, how am I going to get out of here? Like that was my way of thinking. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a couple of interviews. Radio was always in the back of my mind. In school, I'd done like different radio programs and I did my work experience in a radio station. So I was like, what about I could do sales in a radio station and then I can do the breakfast show.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course you would.
That's literally the way I thought. So I was like, right, I'll do a couple of interviews for the radio. So I did an interview at FM104, Q102 and got them. And I just still don't drive a car, Sian, right? It's a black cloud over my life. And I'm like, you need to drive.
Still today?
Still don't drive a car.
God, we're having a chat
what
later.
am I like? I pretend it's like Sex and the City vibes and I'm a city gal, but it's not. I'm just terrified of it. So they're like, you need to drive a car. And I was like, no, I don't. Like I have a big corporate sales job now that I don't drive a car. I don't need to drive a car. Where do you need me to be? And I'll be there. Don't be worrying about how I'm going to get there. I'll get myself there. I'll be 10 minutes early. Don't you worry about me. So got to interview stage. Got one of the jobs, I think I remember. And then the next week I found out I was pregnant. Wow. And I said, right, not a good look perhaps. So I was like, I'll stay where I am. And I'll now tell and they thought I was such a tiny baby. I was actually, I was 22. And I remember going, Jesus Christ, like, how am I going to tell them that I'm pregnant? And like, I was with Ian 5 years at the time, but it was still a huge, massive deal, of course it was. So I just said, no, thank you. My radio career and my Spice Girl career can wait. I'm going to have to be a mammy for a while by the looks of things, So everything kind of turned on its head then, you know.
And how did you and Ian meet?
We were friends. Like, we were friends for years and years and years. And he'd always text me, will you meet me? That's what he used to say, Scarlett. Will you meet me? I was like, no, you're rotten. No, I'm meeting him. Like, I tell him what now. It was awful to him. And then one moment of weakness, and we're together now, be 20 years next year. Yeah, we're together since we're 18. So didn't think that at the time. Do you know what? I always say, like, I kind of batted Ian off for a few years because I was like, when I get with him, I believe that I'll be with him forever.
Okay.
So, like, let me have some fun and you go off and have some fun. You know, so we've a couple of, war stories to tell each other because there's a long life ahead, please God. So that's the way, and genuinely that's what I did think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're together. We hung around in the same circles, but we always, at a party, we'd always find each other. Never kiss each other, but always chatting, always end up together at the end of the night. And he'd always walk me home, make sure I got in the door, so he was always looking out for me well over 20 years at this stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely? So you find out you're pregnant.
Yeah.
What did you do? Well, obviously we know what you do, but yeah.
Well, I remember we were going to a concert on the Friday, right? And I was like, my boobs were sore. I was like, surely not, right? So I was like, no. So I said to Ian, like, my boobs are really sore. And he was like, okay. And I was like, no, like, really sore. He was like, you're not pregnant. I was like, no, but like, I'll just do a test because I'll see if I can have a few drinks on Friday. So then he kept asking me, like, Monday, Tuesday, have you done a test? And I was like, yeah, I'm grand, it's grand. I hadn't done a test.
Okay.
And then I was in the Conrads and I was like, I just knew. I was like, right. So I went over to the chemist, and like the chemist that I go into for like me plasters, for me blisters on me, for me heels, and my Nurofen for me hangover. Like, she knew, I knew her, and I was like, or like, I can't even remember, did I ask for it? Did I hand it to her? And she's like, oh. And again, I probably looked 14, So I took it off her, and she goes, it's best like in the morning, do it in the morning. I was like, no, I have to do it now. So weed on the stick came up like bing, like Las Vegas flashing lights. I was like, no. Did the other one, bing. I was like, okay. And it was Friday at this stage, and I was meeting Ian after work, and we were going to the concert. And I'll never forget I was meeting him at the IFSC. So I was in Tara Street doing this presentation to the Irish Times, because what else would you be doing? And 22-year-olds and on a Friday afternoon. And I was walking over towards Ian. It was a really sunny day. And I just remember, like, everything else was in slow motion. And I was like, I'm about to change his life forever. I'm never going to be rid of this fella. He is going to be in my life forever. No matter what happens to us, he's this baby's dad, So I never forget that. And I was in a humour, like, course. And he said, do you want to go in here? And we walked into one of the pubs and it was packed. And I was like, I can't tell him here. I was like, no, there's no room for me. Usual like shite given out. And we walked to the next. It was juries on the quays there because we're going down to the point. And he went up and he goes, what do you want? Like a Corona? I was like, no, just a Coke, just a Coke. He was like, oh, for God's sake. So he went up, and when he came down, I just had this tiny post-it, I'm pregnant. And he was like, no. I was like, yeah. And he roared crying. Oh. And then I was like, it's going to be fine. Like, what's the big deal? And then I started crying. Then he was calm. So we were kind of like a tennis match going on. So we just
looking after each other.
Yeah. So I had to leave and go outside, and there just seemed to be fucking kids everywhere. I was like, oh, what age is that?
Everywhere you go, there's a pram.
I was like, oh my God. So we went, got something to eat, cried all the way through the meal, went to the concert, like, oh my God, 22. Both of us are the eldest. So like, I think Ian's mom was like still in her 50s, Yeah, she was still in her 50s. So I was like my brother was still, I was 23. So he was like 16, 17, I was like, my mom's still very much a mom. And here I am now. So it was chaos in my mind. So we went to the concert. I went to the doctor the next day, and he said something like, I'll do it pregnancy. something like, if you don't hear from me, you're pregnant, or something strange. So I was like, is he going to ring me? Is he not ringing me? And then it was the weekend, and we had agreed to kind of sit with this news for a while and tell my mum and dad, like, be organised, be responsible, get the scan, make sure there wasn't 15 in there, do you know, that kind of way. And then I just broke down one day in front of my dad, told him, and then come here, the rest is history. And do you know what? The best thing that ever happened to us, like hands down. Everyone says that. But now I look at my friends who are 37, 38 years of age, and like they're only kind of starting that shit now. And I've got a 14-year-old nearly and a nearly 10-year-old at 37. So like I'm coming out, there's still plenty of crap ahead, I'm sure. But I'm coming out that side a little bit. And I've got a bit more freedom to, you know, look after myself and, you know, concentrate on what I want to do with my life and what I want me and Ian's life to look like, you know? Yeah. So even though it was a mad couple of years, thank God, you know, we bought a house. We would in 2010. If I went to like the bank,
God, like so lucky.
Come here. If I went to the bank now, they'd be like, get out, you're hilarious. You know, that kind of way. But we bought a house, we set ourselves up. Last year we moved home into our second, you know what I mean? So like all of those things lined up for us really well, and we're really lucky, you know, and Farah's great, like, you know, but.
And how long then are there between your children?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think 4 years is nice.
Yeah. And like we had a lovely 4 years, like the three amigos, you know, like it was just, and we were so young, you know, and it was magical actually. It was really magical. And then God love, Elliot came along. Elliot came along when I was about 27. And after about a year after Elliot was born, things changed, you know. Yeah. My mental health, my hair fell out. That's another story. My hair fell out.
But was that because of like the stress and everything else that you were going through?
Yeah, I think so.
Because for some people, they can't always pin down why they have the alopecia, you know, but for some other people, they can pin it down to a day, to a time, to a reason.
Yeah.
So you obviously felt under pressure. I want to say thank you so much to Ella and Joe, our sponsors of this episode of BeBelle Podcast. Ella and Joe is all about bringing a joy and vibrancy to skincare. Each product is inspired by nature and boosted by science, designed to deliver the most amazing results, but also to be kind to your skin. It is luxury moments that brighten up our day. And as always, I want to bring it back to me with my two hero products. The 3-in-1 Hyaluronic Spritz, it stays in my bag all the time. And if you haven't tried Melt Away, then it's a must. It's the most beautiful cleanser. And don't forget, all BeBelle listeners can get 20% off all full-size products online. Just use the code BeBelle at checkout. So thank you, Ella and Joe, for sponsoring this series of BeBelle Podcast.
I think like I'm very much like a swan, do you know, that kind of way? Like I'll look cool, calm. Well, sometimes I pull that off. Not so much anymore, but I used to be able to be cool, calm and collected and then kind of struggling underneath the surface a bit. And I think, yes, like for, you know, 5-6 years, I was trying to make sure that all my plates were spinning at the same time. Yeah. And I am a person who would be like, watch me. You'd think I won't be able to do this, wait and I show you. You know?
Do it twice and take a picture for you.
Yeah. Do you know? So I think I was definitely, I had to be a mom. I had to pay the mortgage. I had to do all the things that were expected of me very, very young, you know? And I think that I never took my eye off the ball, you know, for a very long time. And I think I was probably compounding that stress. Yeah. So it wasn't like a lot of people like we work with that would lose, you know, grief is a big trigger for alopecia areata. Some sort of trauma, like an operation, an illness, like there's loads of reasons for it. But I definitely think mine was more of kind of a compounded stress and it just kind of bubbled.
And were you working mum?
Yes, yeah.
And what were you doing then?
I actually, when I was pregnant in the Conrad, I did my, you know, maternity leave with them and then I didn't go back. I went to a place called Marino Institute of Education. So that was absolutely gas crack, but that was a teacher training college. Yes. So I was there for like 7 years and they got me through my hair loss. I owe them a lot as well. And I learned so much there, you know, completely different. But not, you know, there's always, I think there's a level of hospitality in every job that you have, or there should be, you know, and that's kind of the way I run my business now as well, that everyone's treated, you know, in a very hospitable way. I don't know how to describe that, but I like to look after someone, you know. So Marino, I was there. I was, again, conference and events, sales. So I was going out and still knocking at to like, remember me? Because they had a conference centre. Yes, here's your one back again, you know. So I was doing that for a number of years. And then I moved more into the kind of student side of things, which I loved. Like, I love young people. I loved they're not teenagers, but they were young adults. I just loved them. Like they were like my kids, but I took on some of their problems, I definitely think as well. Like I could never be like a teacher or someone who looks after young people. I couldn't do it. But I was there for a very long time and I loved it. Like it was great crack, you know, when you're working in a mad environment, like it was so full of like, you know, like Gaelgores and full of like the church, you know, and full of, and like then there was me fizzing around, you know, that kind of went me wig. messing, turned the place like a little Tasmanian devil, you know. But it taught me a lot.
Yes.
Like it did. It's about how to deal with certain people and when to keep your mouth shut and when not, you know, when to speak up.
Yeah.
And when I left there in a bit of a blaze. Like I wanted to try and light the place on fire, to say I wanted to make sure they knew that I was leaving for this specific reason and you can't do this. Like I'm a real justice warrior to my detriment, I think sometimes. So when I left there, I kind of lit a match and said, feck yous, that kind of way. But very amicable now. But when I left, I wanted to make an impact and a statement, you know. But I learned a lot in those two. Like, to be honest with you, they're my biggest careers of my life, would have been hospitality industry and the education industry. Yeah. And both of them taught me so much and so valuable in different ways.
Now you're using them both.
Yeah. Completely.
But what takes you from, you know, having an issue, I suppose, you know, with the alopecia to wanting to actually solve the problem and actually help other people? How did that happen?
So I left Merino in a bit of a blaze and I set up a salon with somebody then. And I set up a salon and I lasted about a year and then I had to get out of there. Just a different alignment of principles and ethics, I think. And I think actually when you're picking your business partner, it's even more important than your marriage, to be honest with you. So important.
Huge. I do a lot of work on this. Yeah. And actually I'd say if you don't have to, don't pick one.
No, don't.
Because it's harder. I have actually worked in partnerships three times and there's only one that I'd work with again.
Yes.
But we're not for any reason other than we had different ideas.
The same way as like when you go on a date with someone, you're like,
absolutely
lovely person, but not for me. Yeah. Couldn't, you know?
Absolutely.
So walked away. It was really difficult to walk away from that. And that was very public as well. And it was very difficult to walk away from that. But I would never not do that again because it's led me to this. And it gave me the push. I'd probably still be in the college fizzing around. So that kind of way if I hadn't made that move. Because, you know, entrepreneurship or running a business isn't really in my blood. So that kind of way, it's not something that I've been, you know, watching happening in front of my eyes really. Like even though my dad's a contractor, you know what I mean? But it wasn't...
Your dad's sitting at home not going, I taught her everything she knows. Everything.
He taught me a lot, but, you know, so at that stage then, you know, I was like, right, okay, I have to do something else. And it needed to be in here. Like I gained such like a community online. Yeah. And I felt like, again, it wasn't my responsibility. I understand that now. But I felt a huge responsibility for people who lost their hair, you know, and I was their little voice. I was the person that wanted to do right by them. So I was like, I have to do something, you know, and that's where the idea for Trua was born, you know, and Trua is 4.5 years old now. Don't know how we've got this far, but it was just before COVID, you know, so January, February, I was about to sign a lease for a clinic. And then March, everything happened. And I was always giving out about the estate agent. I was like, that little shite's not ringing me back. Like giving out, thank God he was crap at his job because God knows. So we had to pivot then and go, right, okay, so it's just online for now. Okay, I don't need all those staff, thank God, looking back.
Oh my God.
You know, so everything had to change, you know, and it was probably one of the best years for our business because unfortunately the poor salons were closed, you know, so there was no one really offering scalp and hair advice. And in the meantime then trichology came into my life, so went back, I went back to college, never really been to college before, but went and studied trichology, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done, to be honest. Like there's a huge amount of learning in that. It's massive and it's constantly changing as well. Like I'm doing a new course now and you know, you have to keep yourself educated in terms of research and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like Trua has opened my eyes to, you know, the business world, of course, but also like that owning your own business is like, you know, a weight on your shoulders. There's no doubt about that. And there's huge amounts of pressures, but I've never felt less pressure in my life. I don't feel like I'm chained to a desk the whole time.
Yeah. It's choices, isn't it?
Yeah, and it gives me a huge amount of freedom, you know, to do other things and to concentrate on other things and to spend the money this way. I want to do another course. I don't want to fucking justify that to somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens with Trua and Remi, I think I've got that bug now that I want to work for myself. You know?
No, I think once I'm made that way. It works for me. And I always say, it's not that you have like suddenly a load of free time, because you don't. However, you choose, it's choices. You choose your time. If I choose to go away for a week next week, which I am, I'm taking my phone and my laptop, I can choose to do that.
Yeah.
If I choose not to, I can choose to do that too. And I love not having to ask somebody.
Yeah.
But you have staff.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think, I've had several businesses, and this is the first time in my life where I don't have employees.
Lucky you.
Well, I have to say there's a huge, massive freedom with it.
Yeah.
Because although I used to say, you have that freedom of working for yourself, I never felt that I did work for myself, because I always worked for them.
Yes.
Because I'm responsible for their mortgages. And I think people forget that is quite a weight.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we have I always include myself. We have 5 full-time staff.
Yeah.
And then we have about 7 contractors or part-time workers, that you have to manage and you have to care about and you have to worry about and all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm good at that from maybe their perspective. Like, Claire's very fair.
Yeah.
Claire's very caring. But it does weigh on me, definitely, because I'm worried about them the whole time. Do that kind of way? So like 100%, I think that. But I realise that I can't do it on my own if I had to choose. And I'd rather a gang around me. Like, I love going into the office. I love being with people. As kind of antisocial as I can be at times. I love my quietness of my home and locking the door and not really leaving till Monday. Like, I love that.
Yes.
But I just feed off people, do you know? So even though it's tough, and I've never managed anyone. I've never been a manager. So really, so that was an adjustment, and I'm still learning. And I say to them, I don't wish how many holidays you have left, right? Organise that yourself. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I give them a lot of responsibility because I actually can't take it on.
Yeah.
But I have to get better at managing my own emotions alongside theirs. I haven't mastered that yet. And I don't know that I ever will properly.
Some people never do.
Yeah.
Some people never do. I think there's always a stipulation. This is the kind of person I am. This is the kind of person you are. We might have conflict in these areas, but I'm always going to look after you.
Yes. Yeah.
Never worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've worked through a couple of recessions, and ex-staff would always say, whatever there was, we always got paid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could all lose the head one day, but they always got paid.
Yes.
I didn't always get paid.
Yeah.
They always got paid.
Yeah.
So what do you see, what do you want next for the business first? What do you want next for the business?
Well, Trua is our trichology clinic.
Yeah.
So Trua is up and running. She's thriving, thank God. We've really are doing really well. And I think actually 4.5 years in, I'm only actually learning now what I should be doing.
Okay.
It's taken me that long to go, a P&L. It's taken me that long.
Ring me, Claire.
Yeah, it really has. And again, that's with thank God, a brilliant accountant, that just came on board in May, and she changed everything for me,
Brilliant.
So True is taken away. Last November, we brought out Remi.
Yeah.
So Remi, I suppose, is our vessel. You don't make much money, Shan, selling other people's products, right?
No.
So that's what we do in Trua. We sell other people's products, that kind of way. And not even the money thing, but it's hard to keep the business like that afloat because you don't really have much wiggle room anywhere. And it's particularly hard when there's big corporations out there with 30% off with this code and 50% off with this code. So it's hard work, but people have a real loyalty to us because we go above and beyond about teaching them why.
Yes.
That's really important to me that people understand, because if I want you to part with €60, I really want to tell you why you should do that, So Trua's ticking along, but she's never going to shoot us out of the stratosphere as all. Not that I always want that, but there's limits to her,
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I putting so much time and effort into other people's companies. That's what I was doing. I was showcasing everyone else's gorgeous products, you know. So the idea for Remi was born probably like 2 or 3 years ago, to be honest, but never thought that I'd get it off the ground, because classic undiagnosed ADHD, like I get these special interests and then they're dropped all of a sudden then, you know. So I went out and I asked a couple of business owners that I knew, like, how would I do it? And they all recommended the same person. I was like, I'll give her a little text and see. And she wrote back straight away, oh my God, Claire, you're on my bucket list. And I was like, oh my God. So we started working together then, and it started to become a reality quicker than I anticipated. And it's been the biggest joy that I have, I suppose, work-wise over the past little while. I'm not used to the product world. Like, I'm not from the retail space, like, you know. But it's fascinating. Like, it's fascinating just to get your teeth into. So Remi, I suppose, is a tool for us to teach you why, you know, and it's a way for us to get into a salon, to educate the industry a little bit better, because there's a huge gap in knowledge about scalp care and hair loss, you know, even like from GPs to pharmacists, there's a huge big gap there, you know, and we're asked all the time, will you come and speak here? Will you do this? And gladly I will. And I'll any opportunity I have to talk about scalp care, I'll be there, you know. So I really drop that down. But, you know, it was so, so important, you know, that like we delivered that. And again, as I said, that's our vessel. And really, I suppose over the past year, thank God, Remi is doing really well. But it's about I'm being picky, Sian, and I don't know if I should be. Again, I don't know why I'm opening this up here, but I'm being picky about who sells it. Because I want them, no one's going to sell it like me, right? So I do have to loosen the reins a little bit. But it's important to get that message across.
I think it's really important. I always think like of a product like a baby. When you first have your baby, you're really picky about who looks after the baby. But as the baby grows a little bit, you trust more people with it.
Yeah.
And as education grows, you will trust more people with it.
And you've just completely said, like when I thought about that, Trua was the same. Like I was the only trichologist in Trua doing consultations, and now I have 4 people doing them. So it comes with time, I presume.
It definitely comes
and you
with
do
time.
have to make those jumps as, you know, a business owner and entrepreneur, especially a founder, I think, because like we were recording something earlier on today, and I was like, no one has a story like ours. I know plenty of people that own businesses that create products, that have a great product, but I don't know anyone who's a story like ours. And I'll make you laugh, and I'll make you cry, and I'll make you everything in between, because it's been a mad, you know, 8 years since my hair fell out. Absolutely Wild West stuff, you know. But I definitely think, you know, that founder story and the why is really, really important. Huge.
There's no business without a story.
Yeah.
But like, you look fabulous.
Thanks.
Your hair looks fabulous.
Thanks.
Like on that alopecia journey, I suppose, where are you at?
Big patch is back in my head here now.
Okay.
Always kind of have a patch, you know, and it's funny how I treat them now. Like I treat them as little whispers to my body to be like, watch it, Claire, calm your tits, Claire, you know, just watch yourself. And it's funny, like I actually love pressure. I love, you know, a bit of madness. Like I thrive in those situations. I love being underprepared and then blow your socks off.
Yes.
Like, I love that. And it gives me such a thrill to do that. But there's silent pressures that I find difficult to speak about. And that's when I get a patch of alopecia. Okay. So I can handle a lot. And that was one of the biggest things when I lost my hair that I was embarrassed of and was filled me with shame, was that they think I can't handle this. They think I'm so stressed to the point where my hair is falling out, which it was. But I was so ashamed of that how can, you know, Maureen across the road have, you know, 15 kids and a way bigger job than me and so many other expectations on her plate, and she's got a fine old head of hair. How come I can't deal with this? And I was so embarrassed of that. And so, you know, full of fury over that as well, you know.
It's not mental how much of a shit we give about what other people think.
I know.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I also was worried about other people like my mom, Ian, my kids, you know, because I went from, you know, a big, gorgeous, big full head of red hair to Phil Mitchell in 5 weeks. So that was a shock to the system.
Crazy amount of time.
To everybody around me, you know, and it was such an extremity. And especially when you can see something physically on somebody, it makes you worry, I'm sure. you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely think like that pushed me into stratosphere. I mean, that pushed me into addiction. Like that pushed me into, you know, a big, and the online attention as well. Like when I lost my hair, I went straight to Snapchat and called myself Claire Balding. Typical Irish, right? Ripping the piss out of myself. And I kind of was trying to, I felt like I was trying to gain answers. So someone out there, I don't know anyone, but someone out there is going to know someone with alopecia. Like please like reach out to me. And I really entered that community to try and gain strength from them. But sometimes it can get nasty, you know? And it didn't get nasty. I was probably Ireland's sweetheart for a while, especially when I was bald.
Yes.
But once that hair started to grow back, I was like, get your shit together, Claire. And also, when I got my wig or when my hair grew back, it was like, well, what do you have to be moaning about now? But there was so many unsolved stuff that I hadn't really got around because the wig was a distraction and the phone was a distraction and the shows were a distraction and the TV shows were... I was doing everything that I could to distract you from, I'm an alcoholic and I need help. Do you know?
Yeah.
So it was like... It was a whirlwind at that time, you know? And really, to be honest with you, over the past... Like, I'm sober now 3.5 years, thanks be to God. But like... It's only now that I've got a bit of clarity in my life, you know? For years, I was fighting that and running away from that. But removing alcohol from my life was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
You know, it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah.
Well, you look amazing for it. I feel guilty now for having a glass of rosé.
No,
no,
I wish I could.
No.
People say to me, do you hate drink? Do I hate it?
No,
I love
yes.
That's the problem, love. I fucking love it. I love it. I'd give anything to do it again.
Yeah.
But please God, I'll never go there again.
And so, you know, you've done an awful lot of work on yourself and you know, you have a great, successful business. Like, only see that growing and being exactly what you want it to be. And I wish everything for you. But what do you do for you?
Not drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say, like, you know, staying sober is my job.
Okay.
Right? Like Remi and Trua and anything else I do, there are ways of, like, you know, making a living for myself and fulfilling something huge inside me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, God, I get so much job satisfaction and life satisfaction out of my businesses, you know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I couldn't sell you a lipstick. I couldn't sell you shoes. I'm a good salesperson, but I wouldn't give a shit enough.
Yeah.
You know, I really give a shit about people and their scalps and the detrimental effects that hair loss can have on people, you know, because it really had an effect on me. But not drinking is the one thing that I give myself. That's and it's gas because it's the absolute opposite to the way I used to treat myself. I reward myself with alcohol. Oh, you deserve it. You know, you've had a long day or the kids are shits or Ian's annoying me or whatever it was. There was always an excuse. You know, I always deserved it. But actually, I deserve to stop, you know? So that's, I would say, and I think that we were just speaking before that, like, I really need a bit of Pilates, you know, that kind of, I really need a bit of mindfulness. Like, there's so many things on my plate that I need to partake in. Like, I remember even the doctor, now Claire, like, you know, usual shite when they see a chubby gal walking through the door, you know, you have to lose weight, this is a one thing at a time, hon. I'll tell you when I'm ready. Right now, I'm swallowing Maltesers like they're cucumbers so I don't reach for a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So stay there now.
Yeah,
Don't back off, you know? And I think I've learned to do that in so many other ways in my life now as well. You know, I don't beat around the bush anymore. You know, I don't plumage. I don't pretend that I'm okay.
Yes.
You know, you have to play the game and you have to give a level of service always, you know, especially in work and particularly for people who work for you. But I tell people now, you know, I tell people when I'm struggling. And my phone has been, you know, such a counsellor to me at times because I'll just go on, rant and rave, and then that's gone. That's gone out of my, you know what I mean? It could be about whatever, like, you know, nothing specific, but it's definitely been a source of getting shit off my chest, you know? But there's been I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I wouldn't have the life that I have now. I wouldn't have anything, I don't think, without social media, you know? But it has cost me almost my life, you know, at times it's taken a lot from me, but again, I use it differently now as well. You know, that kind of way. I don't tell everyone. I never had a boundary in my life. Didn't know what they were, but now I've started to develop boundaries, and they don't need to know, Claire, your PPS number and how much you fucking earn a year, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the shit. I want to be honest and authentic with my audience. to a point, you gobshite. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, you'd never see the good stuff on there.
No, do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
No, at all. And it's funny, I think a lot of people have learned that, especially the people sort of back in the day, do you know, in the Snapchatters that moved and then went, okay, it's now time to settle down. Yeah. And we all want different things at different times, and success changes for us over time and as we get older. But I've enjoyed watching the whole transition of your journey, and long may it last. And I'm getting you down to Cork, girl. You're coming down to Cork, and we're going to do Pilates in the morning. I'm going to take you round. I'm going to show you all the sights.
You'll have to drive.
I'll have to drive. I can't believe you don't drive. I'm going to sort that shit out.
I know.
But yeah, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. It was amazing.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for listening to this week's BeBelle podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on social media. If you've got any questions, then please don't hesitate to DM us at BeBelle_wellness. You can also find this on our YouTube channel, which is my YouTube channel, Sian Horn. And don't forget, the more people that subscribe, the better that we can make this pod. So don't forget, like and subscribe across all channels. And thank you.